Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. John D has some headaches out there. Media went up. Is not looking good. They're going through some challenges, and that's what we're going to talk about today, right? Because we're interested. I am interested in the home arcade market, right? I really love arcade cabinets. I really do, man. When I look at them, I really just want them. Look at this Popeye right here. $1,100 though. I don't know what I would have to throw away. I'm willing to throw away my bed. My wife wouldn't be too happy, right? In order to get these in the room, but that's not going to happen. But I would have to get rid of some stuff. But I want to pretend I'm Billy Mitchell playing on Donkey Kong, but I don't want to pay $2,700. Oh man, look at this Tempest. Man, this cabinet right here, guys, holds some very special memories for me. If you ever been super baked and played Tempest, it's otherworldly. Anyway, guys, look at that Tron. Almost 4Gs, Jesus Christ. Well, that's why there's an arcade, home arcade market, I guess, right? Because not everybody can afford that. There's some purists out there, but guys, if people don't have that kind of money, they don't have that kind of money. If you live in an apartment, you can't have those things, right? Are they better than whatever's out there now? Yeah, of course. You're not going to compare them to Arcade One Up, right? But if you can't afford them, you can't make people feel bad because they can't afford crap. I mean, come on. Regardless, guys, even if you want to build them, like I put a parts list for me that, I wanted to, just get a cabinet and maybe fix it. It was like $500 worth of parts, right? So I got to get like a messed up machine and then put that in it, right? Regardless, guys, let's go through this article. For those of you who don't know, I have a Substack. Please go and subscribe to it. It's free. Uh, the readings that I make on these, you're watching this video today before it's out tomorrow. That's for channel members where I actually read it. That's one of the benefits of being a channel member. But if you're not, you're listening to it in the morning. Good morning. I hope you're having a great day. Right? And please make sure that you like and subscribe. I'm having a hard time with YouTube right now because I like talking about different subjects, controversial subjects. Some of them, have to do with people that don't like being talked about. And that's what gets you in YouTube jail. Regardless, guys, let's get into this article. In the niche, passionate, and very loud world of retro arcade gaming, and it's very loud because, there's voices like me. I got a big mouth, as where other creators. We love talking about this stuff, guys. It's really exciting. Nostalgia drives a lot of this content. And I'm just going to interject here, guys, because when I put this thing through the Grammarly AI stuff, it, sometimes it doesn't sound like me. So I have to interject here and give you the flavor of what I'm trying to say. When a client comes to me with huge problems, and they do, let me tell you, and I give them a big smile and say, "What a great opportunity you are giving me." Right? They look at me like I'm crazy because they just told me the worst thing that just happened to their company. Right? And I'm just sitting there like, "We can do this." Right? You came to me because I can do it. I know it's a lot of money. Right? Well, you're not paying it to me, you're paying it to my company, but we're gonna do this. Don't worry. Now there's a new player, right? Media One Up, led by one John D. Um, and let me tell you, his name I can't pronounce. That's why I call him John D. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna butcher it. Right? I'm sorry. It's the beaner in me. Diamonon. Okay, that's the best I can do in Spanish. And the hardest thing for me, guys, is I think in Spanish, but I have to write all this in English, and I'm speaking in English. I have to make sure that I keep the grammar, or try to keep it correct, I guess. But of course, sometimes I just sound like a fifth grader with my ESL education. Regardless, guys, he has stepped into the arena, and he's teaming up with Iconic Arcade, a distributor of arcade cabinets. The partnership promised to deliver officially branded, almost full arcade size machines. I don't know what their ultimate goal is, right? But of course, it sparked interest in collectors, YouTubers, retro gaming fans everywhere, because they know that he's the one that gets the licenses. He's the license guy, right? That's what his claim to fame. Now, there is a market for these machines, as arcade went up has shown, right? They sell, I don't know what their last figure was. I believe it was over $70 million. So I mean, that's a good chunk of change. Uh, but not everybody has, the kind of money to buy regular arcade machines, and that really is what drives this market. You could build a good arcade cabinets on your own. I priced out, yeah, I priced out more than once. I priced out parts that I want. Sometimes they come up to like $500. But I don't have the time. I don't have a shop to do it in. I mean, that's why there's a market for these things. And a lot of purists hate them. They do, right? But I'm not going to crap on people just because they can't afford or have $10,000 to fill up their arcade room with the cabinets they want, right? Even if I had them, I think my wife would beat me if I would buy them. Now, before I begin, guys, let me tell you this. If you're looking for me to tear down a brand new business and crap all over John D, this is not the video, right? It's not what I'm going to do here, right? We're here to push through adversity. We're here to take the blows, right? It doesn't mean I'm not going to criticize him, but I'm not going to crap on the guy. It's two different things. This is constructive criticism, and it's to make us better business people, right? Maybe you out there are trying to, open a business. Maybe this will give you some ideas. There's nothing better in business that we can do sometimes than to look at other people's mistakes and not repeat them, right? What I'm about to tell you is not business or financial advice or of any kind, because I don't know your situation. I don't know what your problems are. And even in this situation here, I don't know every single detail, right? I have to make some assumptions because this is a privately held company, so I don't know every single detail, nor do I know the details and contracts of the partnership, right? So these are just going to be general opinions. They could be correct. It may not be correct because I don't have every single detail, as I said, but they're going to be some educated guesses, right? And based on what you see here, you can see the way my thought process goes when I'm talking to a client and he's got issues similar to these, sometimes maybe a lot worse, right? Now, let me tell you this also. Nobody, and I mean nobody that has ever owned a business, right, knowing how hard it is, ever wishes somebody else or, wishes another man's business to fail, because it sucks. Guys, I have failed. I have blown up businesses to smithereens, and wishing that on somebody else is just bad karma. But those failures are what made me better, right? I failed many times, and every time because of that failure, I got better. It's like when you fail a test by one question, right? Like you missed it by one. You remember that one freaking question. You forget all the rest, right? But the one that you missed, that's the one that you remember. That's how you get better, right? If I would chastise John D for anything, it would be for the Street Fighter 2 cabinet. Look, I just Blue, hello. I just say that. But he's got a challenge here because uh, just months into their launch, the wheels are coming off the cabinet. We got serious problems here. There's a breakdown of what happened and why, and this could be a cautionary tale, like I said, for some of you who want to start up new businesses, right? What was promised versus what happened? Let me tell you this, guys. I hate starting businesses on leverage. I don't like borrowing. I don't like credit. I don't like pre-orders. I don't like any of that stuff, right? Once the product is made and you give it to whoever's going to use it, you put those samples out there and you let the product speak for yourself. Especially for a brand new company, sometimes it's the best way to go, right? You can even take your cabinets, you can give them to influencers. They can do the QC for you, right? And they, of course, they're going to get his payment the cabinet, right? But they can tell you what's wrong with it, what could be fixed, yada yada yada. But it's better to pay everything up front and then just get people to order, right? Because they're hyped based on promotion, whatever else you did. So I'm not a big fan of this. Probably, hopefully for his second venture, he doesn't do this pre-order thing, because it's always, for me, this is just my opinion. For me, it takes control away from you, right? It takes control away from the individual. And when that happens, things like this that happened to him can happen. right? So pre-orders for arcade cabinets featuring Capcom classics like Street Fighter Alpha 2 went live via Iconic Arcade, with shipping initially expected for June 2025 or thereabouts, right? I might get the dates wrong, guys, but I'm just giving you the generalities of the problem here. Reality shipping is now delayed between, I would believe, a vague quarter 2025 window, whatever that is, maybe October. But customers are charging full at the time of a pre-order now, that is June, right? Like if the cabinets were going to ship next week, people got charged. Now there's an emerging rumor on top of this, right? That the cease and desist letter still out there by Arcade One Up, a major competitor, or the major competitor, I should say, over possible design or maybe intellectual properties. That's the rumor right now, right? It's not verified, it's just alleged. And there's website confusion because after that happened, some products vanished from the original ordering site, then reappeared on another standalone type of platform. And that really fueled speculation of a legal or strategic retreat, right? So you have more of that kind of news going on rather, instead of the company speaking. That's never a good thing. Now, what could be going on, right? These are just educated guesses on my part. I don't know, right? They haven't said anything, right? Some things that could happen would be an inexperienced cash flow manager, maybe accounting didn't do their job. They didn't read the work instructions, if there are any. Right? We don't know that there's a decision tree, for this kind of stuff, or that's even developed. Right? We don't know the insights of the company. Inexperience also contribute to order management, not using proper authorization system, for example, to do the charge, or it could be just miscommunication with processors about the date change. It could be as somebody forgot or didn't fill the right form in, that kind of stuff. Now, manufacturing or supply chain delays, especially in this environment with tariffs, right? Even without the alleged legal things that are being alleged with Arcade One Up, even without that challenge, startups in hardware always face several things. Number one is tooling delays, because a lot of factories, guys, believe it or not, if they have a client that they've done business with a long time, they'll take tooling away from your job so they can get that one done first, right? It just happens. Right? It just happens. That's what factories do. They take their biggest clients as priorities. You can have vendor changes. Stuff can get discontinued, right? You can have part shortages. You can have tariffs added to all this, and you can have freight bottlenecks, right? Those are typical things that happen. They can easily push deliveries from one quarter to another. It's not uncommon. That's why I don't like the pre-order process, right? Now, legal pressure from Arcade One Up. Now, several posts on Reddit as well as the Rexo show have mentioned in X and YouTube and everywhere else, they indicate that Arcade One Up may have issued a cease and desist letter, allegedly, right? Possibly over cabinet shape and similarities, brand confusion, or patent IP infringement, right? If true, and I don't know that it is, this would explain the removal of listings from Iconic Arcade's website, or wherever they removed it from. It doesn't matter. But what that does, without communication, it makes people think or deduce that when your product suddenly vanishes from your distributor's website and reappears on your own or somewhere else, whatever, it often means somebody sent the lawyer. That's what they can deduce, right? Now, the danger of Media One Up is if they don't become proactive, right? And a company can be reactive and proactive. And right now, as far as I can see, right, Media One Up is a reactive company when it comes to manufacturing. Now, let me be absolutely clear about the danger that Media One Up is in here with this launch, right? Let me be clear. The disaster in launch could cost the company more than the entire market cap of the company, right? In other words, the loss could be greater than what the company is worth, right? Depending on how many cabinets you build. Now, that is a clear present danger that must be avoided at all costs, right? You got to get this right. This launch has to be right, or this company's cooked, because this is your first project. Media One Up isn't a seasoned manufacturer, right? They're not in the manufacturing business. They're consultants. And John D has, product development experience, experience from before. But you know, but it's like going from sales to manufacturing. They're two different beasts, two different monsters, right? And promoting is very different than actual manufacturing. The business model relies entirely on public trust, especially when you're doing pre-orders. You have to have timely execution, right? And I'm not going to say brand legitimacy because it's hard for me to say because I'm a beaner. So I just put in the article for you. Now, in risk-based management, which is what you should have when you're manufacturing, right? This should have been addressed at the planning level, right? That's why I get paid the big bucks, right? It's because you make a business plan from the very top, and we go down. It could be easily as the person who's handling these type of events should already be trained to do what they're supposed to do before it even happens. The moment there was a delay of any kind, mitigating measures should have been implemented, enacted per the process plan that you already have, like the decision tree that we talked about before, remember? Right? So everybody has work instructions. I don't know what the structure of his company is or what the structure of Iconic Arcade is, right? So it may not necessarily be on his end. It could be on Iconic, but before he goes into Iconic, right, it is his responsibility to vet that place, to vet whoever you're doing business with. That is part of the business process, right? I'm not going to go do business with somebody that doesn't, for example, if I was manufacturing anything, are you ISO compliant, or what standards do you work to, right? Show me your quality management plans. Show me your work instructions. That's what I'm looking for before I sign a contract with anybody. Before I let a customer that tell me I want to do business with this guy and I go over there and audit the place and it's just a complete shit show. They have all the right things on their website, but when you actually go down to the facility, none of the things that are on the website are actually happening on the floor, right? Those are the things that you have to do. And those are things that you don't do in sales. When I was a salesman, I didn't care. I just wanted to sell. That was my job. My job wasn't to vet every single vendor, that we got supplies from. Right? That was the quality team job. It wasn't my job. Right? But when you're starting a company, you have to put on a lot of hats. And, sometimes that leads to things like this. Right? You need to have somebody else. You need to have qualified people. And that's why, again, I don't like doing the pre-order stuff because it takes away from you, right? From your control. Regardless, guys, the risk impacts refund requests, and it's immediate cash burn if people want to get refunds. They could have negative reviews, chargeback, payment processor flags, fees, all kinds of crap. Legal costs are high and unpredictable, especially when it comes to Arcade 1-Up if it's litigious. And I don't know that to be the case, but right? But it's easy. I mean, if you just cease and desist, okay, you don't like that, we'll take that off. What else don't you like? Okay, we'll take this off. Done, right? That's basically your conversation. Now, if they want to go beyond that, then, I mean, that's part of the conversation with the judge, and say, look, I did what they asked. I mean, what else do you want me to do, right? Do you want me to shut down? I'm not going to do that, right? But rumors can be a factor, right, in putting stress on a new startup, especially on the leadership, employees, what have you. Word spreads fast in enthusiast communities, especially when it comes to arcade cabinets. People are thirsty for information because they want to be first with the videos, right? It's all about YouTube clicks and what have you. And you could even have partner tension with Iconic Arcade. You may want to reconsider, or, renegotiate the partnership, whatever. I mean, it could just have a bunch of ramifications that you don't want any part of, right? And Media 1-Up needs to take corrective actions immediately, right? They need to publicly acknowledge the delay and overcharges. And I don't mean just a Twitter post. It's not enough. You have to be there, right? You need to be transparent. Post a detailed statement explaining the situation and steps that are being taken. Again, this is reactive, not proactive, right? You need to own it, right? And this part is the hardest, but it's the most important, right? You have to sit there and say, yep, you know what? I'm not going to blame anybody else. I hired all these people. It's my responsibility, my call. Since I screwed it up, I'm going to fix it. I'm responsible and I will fix it. You know, when you tell that to people and you actually do it, you're going to get loyalty from those customers. If they know that you're good to your word, there's no better advertising than that, right? Everybody understands that mistakes can happen, and everybody sees people that make mistakes and run away. But if you're not one of them, if you know and they know that your team is going to take care of business, then that's good on you, right? It could be a great opportunity, as I said. Offer full refunds or goodwill incentives like store credit, discount codes, whatever, to retain the loyalty of those customers and do good by them. You need to clarify the legal standing so there's no rumors, right? You don't want YouTubers. You don't want me or any other YouTuber talking about whatever the heck is going on. You can just say whatever your lawyer tells you that you can say, right? And you can even say that, per my lawyer, this is my statement. I hope you understand I can't talk about this. It's a case, whatever. But you're transparent. You're acknowledging it. And the people that will support you will understand. They're not going to keep on pressing you. Oh, you need to talk about this. No, you just talk about it once and it's done. This is what I can say. And I'm telling it to you right now. Done. Number 3, you got to fix the payment flow. Never charge in full unless the items are shipping within 30 days or, whatever your policy is. But, you can't charge until you're going to ship, basically. Use a reputable pre-escrow system, pre-order escrow system, if you can do it, like BackerKit or Shopify deposits or some crap like that, whatever there is out there. Right? And you need to rebuild trust via updates. You can't just, I'm going dark. That's not how you handle PR, man. It's not. And I've said this before, he's not the best spokesperson. Even though it's his company, he's not the best spokesperson for his company. He needs to find somebody that does this for a living. Right? There's people that get paid for doing this stuff. Now, it may be early in the company, right? So you can pay for press releases and stuff like that. You can pay for somebody to write stuff up for you, and you read it, and that goes. But don't go off script. Do not go off script. You have to do the best for your company, and you can only say things that are going to make your company look better, and just give the customers that you have a sense of direction and a sense of purpose, and that you're doing things in steps, but they're guided steps. You're just not rushing into things. You can show videos, photos, walkthroughs of cabinets being built. Transparency always wins. And restructure partnerships so this kind of stuff doesn't happen again. Like, and I'm not saying this happens, right? But just say, Iconic Arcade has some questions. They're like, I don't know, man, this and that and the other. Just clarify the roles, revenue splits, who controls fulfillment, stuff like that. Again, when you don't do pre-orders, you have more control over that stuff, right? And they must decide whether or not they're truly a consultant or a marketer or now functioning as a manufacturer, because you can't take the fall for the manufacturer, right? Because if you remember when John described his company, he said, I'm going to give you a little bit, but I'm not going to give you everything. No, you have to be, that's not what you do in PR, man. You got to be dead nuts about who you are. If you're not sure who you are, figure it out and then say, I am this right now. Right? Like I'm a marketer consultant. Right? I'm the guy that gets the licenses, and then I partner up with people to get them built. That's it. You don't have to go beyond that. Then if you add another skill, now I'm involved in manufacturing, or now I'm involved in direct to retail. Whatever it is, but it has to be definite. It can't be ambiguous. Right? Being ambiguous and not being communicative with a community that constantly is looking for anything, is key. This guy could be out there posting pictures of the screws that they're going to use. People would be happy. right? I'm going to use this trim. I'm going to use this screw. I'm going to use this board. Whatever the hell it is. Just put it up there. Little by little. Not give out your secrets, but, just something. I'm going to use this vinyl, for example. Those kind of things. But in general, what is the outlook for Media One Up? Now, while the challenges faced by Media One Up are significant, right? They're not insurmountable, right? Especially if they hire somebody like me. I'm not for hire right now, by the way, guys. I'm not offering my services. But you could hire a consultant, right, to get you through these waters. Is it going to cost you money? Oh, hell yes. Driving time ain't free, right? But you need to get somebody that has experience and somebody that's able to work through these murky waters, right? Or get qualified help. Hire people that are professionals in their field. It's a little hard for startups, right? But that's why you take consultants. You just give them a project. Okay, look, I'm going to have you work on this project. This project's $500, whatever the hell it is. Just work on this for me. But you have to make sure that they're qualified. Because I've seen much worse, guys. Let me tell you, I've seen much worse. But Media One Up, even though they're a consultant, they have to think like a manufacturing company. They have to have manufacturing discipline. They have to hold at least, like an ISO standard or something like that. Use risk-based thinking, right? Everything has a process. Every single movement that is made within the company, it's to a process. It's just not willy-nilly. You don't wake up one day and decide one thing. You wake up the next day and you're going to change direction. You can't do that. There has to be manufacturing discipline in this process because you're actually manufacturing products. That's what you're dealing with. And by being proactive, you can address legal, operational, and customer service issues. The company can navigate a turbulent period and establish itself as a reputable player in the gaming market. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to like your products, right? It doesn't mean, every YouTuber is going to sing your praises. But what it does mean is that people can order things from you and they can trust that they're going to come in, right? That it's not going to be screwed up. I mean, that's step one, right? Because people already have a connection with John D. If you really think about it, John D has louder voices on YouTube than detractors. He does, right? He's got big YouTubers that are looking to promote. They're actively trying to be promoters of products, not only for their channels because it grows the channel, but because, the more views you get, the more money you make. I mean, it's just part of the game, right? And I'll give you my final thoughts here, guys. Startups live and die by execution and transparency. They do. In retro gaming, your audience is small, but it's loyal and informed. Right? You're not going to get multiple chances to fumble the trust of the customer, especially when you're asking $700 plus for a machine that has not even been finalized yet. Yeah, Media One Up's dream of becoming the best alternative to Arcade One Up could still succeed, of course. Right? This is just a bump in the road. But they need to clean house operationally, address legal risk head on if they exist, right? And start acting like they're serious about business, but even more serious about customer satisfaction. Those are my initial thoughts on this situation, guys. This is what I would recommend to you if you were, in this kind of situation, fictitious situation, right? But I don't know. I can't give you specifics on your situation. I don't know what you do. You could be an alcoholic and you spend all your money as soon as we're done talking, and then it doesn't matter what I say, right? But guys, this is stuff that could, kill a startup if not handled right, right? But if he's able to manage it, if he's able to get through these things, let me tell you, these cabinets will sell. This Street Fighter Alpha will sell. There's a few other licenses that he could get that Arcade One Up hasn't handled quite as masterfully as they should, where he could come back in with another product and make some money. Now let me tell you this, guys, just big picture. John could be making money doing other things, right? With John's expertise, he could be making a lot more money doing something else, right? So this has to be a passion project, because there's better ways of making money than taking all of these headaches on, let me tell you. Some company with his experience would pay him buku bucks for what he does. So he doesn't really need to do this. This to me feels like a passion project, but he needs to execute it well. And if he does, he's going to have a winner in his hands. And if he doesn't, well, there's going to be a bunch of videos on YouTube on how he failed, right? All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.